It's my pleasure to introduce you, though I think you need little introduction. You are our courageous and talented state auditor. You first served in state government as state representative and then as state senator from the 1st Essex before running for your current position. You saw firsthand the backroom deals and secret arrangements which sabotage the carrying out of the people's work. We look forward to hearing from you about your ballot initiative to audit the state legislature.
Thank you so much for the very gracious introduction. I do appreciate that. Great to see some of my colleagues on today. I didn't get to see everybody. I'm zooming in from my phone. I'm having some laptop technology issues, so I can't really see everybody right now. But I just did get to listen a little bit to Representative Connolly and hear about some of his tremendous work. It's been great to partner with him. And then I, of course, saw Representative Doherty just a second ago. So great to see some representation from the legislature on this call, actually, in talking about our shared values. My name is Diana DiZoglio. I am your new state auditor. What a humble opportunity to get to join you, who are the grassroots organizers, the ones making the difference at the ground level. First and foremost, thank you for all that you do. We can't do anything that we do without support like yours in the grassroots, out in our communities, in our neighborhoods. So thank you for that. You may have heard that we're auditing the state legislature right now, and it is something that we talked about on the campaign trail. I campaigned for state auditor for I believe almost 2 years. And on the campaign trail, we repeatedly talked about the need to increase transparency, accountability, equity, and accessibility in our state government across the board, but in our state legislature, especially where, as you just said, we know that there are closed door conversations happening about the budget. Policy decisions are being made behind those closed doors. The very people that the legislature is intended to serve are shut out from what's happening up on Beacon Hill. We are frequently ranked as the least transparent and accessible state government in the entire nation. Our legislature is not subject to public records laws, not subject to open meeting laws like our municipalities are. We have seen, some of the fallout of that, especially recently, where we've had these challenges with getting those decisions made by the end of the deadline, that end of year deadline before legislators went on break. We've seen challenges with some of these tax packages being done behind closed doors with little participation from the folks who are being impacted the most by them most recently. And this has been being called one of the least productive sessions in many, many years. And that is incredibly unfortunate, especially, to see this happening, especially as someone who herself came from, before serving in this capacity, the legislature. I served as a legislative aide. I served as a state representative for 6 years, representing a chunk of the Merrimack Valley. I then served as a senator for 4 years. And, that 10 plus years of being in the legislative side of things really did open up my eyes to, some of the great things that our state legislature really can do to help families in our communities, vulnerable families, especially who need assistance the most. But it also demonstrated to me, the incredible work that needs to be done to make government work better. And that is what my office does in the Office of State Auditor. It's actually our slogan. State Auditor's Office makes government work better. And we reach out to folks like you to help us do just that. But in our pursuit of a legislative audit, and we audit every state entity, by the way, 200 plus state entities, in our pursuit of conducting a legislative audit, we have been stonewalled. And we've actually presented to the Attorney General and to legislative leaders the fact that 117 audits have been discovered, demonstrating clear precedent that these audits have been done in the past. Actually, audits of the legislature occurred nearly every year since the inception, since the creation of the Auditor's Office back in 1849, signaling that the legislative intent of the office and the creation of the office was always meant to include auditing the legislature alongside of all of these different state entities that we have been known to audit. It's only been in recent years that the legislature just sort of stopped getting audited. A speaker, it said, hey, we don't think that you have the authority to do this. The auditor at the time said, oh, we must not have the authority. And then it just stopped happening after that. So those years, though, are very few in comparison with the many, many years. I believe it's about 150 years precedent, more or less, where audits did occur. So we want to bring back the audits that always did occur in the office before recent years, and to make sure that we are holding the legislature accountable to you, the residents of the Commonwealth, and making sure that you have access to what's happening behind those closed doors, so that you can make informed decisions about what you want to support, what you don't want to support, what you think about particular issues. The legislative process needs a lot of work. We need access to the financials more than we have access to them right now. And cooperation would be greatly appreciated. But since they are not cooperating, and since the Attorney General, when we've recently contacted her, decided to support legislative leaders' position that they don't have to comply with this audit, we are left really with this ballot question, which will give you, the voters, the opportunity to make crystal clear to the legislature that you expect full compliance with the law, just like everybody else has to comply, and that you expect transparency, accountability, and accessibility to what's happening up on Beacon Hill, that it's your tax dollars, that it's the people's house, not the politician's house. You will have an opportunity to make that crystal clear, thanks to many of your efforts. I don't know if Nancy's on this call, but I need to give her a shout out. Nancy Steinberg, it was amazing in helping to get our Revolution and other activist groups support, amongst many others, too many to list probably on this call. But I just want to take a moment just to thank all of the activists that are on this call. I don't know if Active Mass is here as well, but a lot of the groups here and a lot of the individuals here really helped in ensuring that the signatures were able to be collected. We have about 98,000 certified signatures at this point. We are incredibly excited about that. That is a tremendous showing. So we are headed towards getting on the ballot. We got over the 75,000 needed to get on the ballot. And we're likely to, once the legislature has an opportunity to weigh in on this, we are likely to need to gather another 12,000+ signatures in the springtime. I will ask you all for your support now for that time period. We know the legislature has been pushing back. Not everyone in the legislature, obviously, the legislative leaders have been pushing back tremendously. And because of that, we're assuming that in the spring, it's very likely that we'll need to go out and get the 12,000+ signatures again to make sure that we can get on the ballot in November of 2024. But this is a tremendous opportunity, folks. It has seen unbelievable pushback up on Beacon Hill. I shouldn't really say unbelievable. It's unfortunately not that surprising. But we do have a tremendous opportunity to make progress, to make bold and meaningful change, to make sure that we have a seat at the table where those decisions are made. And I'm thankful so much for your support. I humbly and respectfully ask for your support moving forward as we press on, as we press ahead. We can't do this without you. So thank you so much. And I will turn it back over to you for any questions. Thanks again.
Thank you, Diana. I think we have 10 minutes for questions. You can either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand. I think John Weissman has a question. Do you want to go ahead and say your question? John, are you there?
Okay. The question is, does the auditor have authority to audit so-called nonprofits who spend on executive salaries, union busting, and otherwise deviating from their nonprofit charter granted by the Commonwealth?
Yeah, thank you so much for your support of labor and for the great question. We do have authority to audit various aspects of nonprofits if they receive state funding. We are able to sometimes go in and to look at the state funded aspect of their operations. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to look beyond the state dollars that they receive, but we can look into the state funded aspect of the organization. And then what we generally do is we will work with the Inspector General's office and refer issues over to the IG's office if things fall out of our purview, so much so that it would render the audit, sort of irrelevant if we really do need to get access to how all of that money is getting intertwined or access to additional processes and procedures. Because if a state entity has some sort of challenges, we're able to go in according to our mandate and look at all the processes, all the procedures that go along with the spending of those dollars. Sometimes it can be challenging to get into a nonprofit where they may receive a lot in private funding or municipal funding or federal funding or wherever they're getting their revenue from, that disallows us, so to speak, to go beyond that state-funded aspect to get to the root cause of some of the problems or to really take a look at the processes and procedures the way we would like to. The Inspector General has a different authority than we do in some of those regards, where they can look at, and I'll just add this in, you didn't ask this question, but some may be wondering about municipalities as well, where the Inspector General has authority to look at those sort of the private aspects, as the AG does as well. And also the IG has the authority to look at municipalities, for example, where we have, wanted to maybe come in and take a look. We thought we were going to get invited in, but if the municipalities don't invite us to take a look at their finances, according to state law, we're not actually able to go in and look at their finances. They have to request our coming in and auditing them. But the Inspector General doesn't need that request when it comes to those municipalities. And the Attorney General doesn't need that request when it comes to private dollars being spent. And they both can obviously also look at malfeasance and if there are, causes for concern in that regard. So we can look at certain aspects, but a lot of times we will refer it to the IG or to the AG's office because it's unfortunately limited sometimes. And, while that's unfortunate, we do appreciate the partnership with the AG and IG's office in that regard. But state entities are fully under the purview of the Office of State Auditor to look fully at processes, procedures, budget, spending, all of those things, procurement, the list goes on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Henry has a question in the chat, and then following Henry, Sam Lambert.
So quickly, if the ballot initiative passes, does the Attorney General or the Supreme Court have the ability to prevent a performance audit by your office?
So that's also a great question. Unfortunately, our Attorney General has decided to preview and seemingly instigate, seemingly I say, because I would like to get more clarity from the AG on this, but a constitutional challenge of sorts in the future for kind of sort of foreshadowing a constitutional challenge to the law that we're passing. I find that to be incredibly disappointing. We did run the language by the Attorney General's office. They looked at the constitutionality, they cleared it to go to the ballot, knowing that if it went to the ballot, there was the opportunity that we were going to get on the ballot. 75,000 plus people signing is a pretty serious thing. We also, have so many activists and so many people who are out there collecting and volunteering, 600 plus folks, so that were part of our volunteer group. So a lot of work. I'm saying that just to say a lot of work went into this, right? Now, the AG's office did clear it to go to the ballot, saying that it did not pose, in order to get on the ballot, constitutional challenges. But fast forward, the Attorney General later did sort of preview some potential constitutional issues. I know in other states, Attorney Generals generally abide by what is known as a duty to defend the law against constitutional challenges, and that's at the federal level as well. So I'm not sure here in Massachusetts what is happening with that, sort of seeming preview and foreshadowing of, well, there'll likely be a constitutional challenge. I would ask that the Attorney General does support the law once it is passed into law by the voters, should this pass, which I fully believe that it will, that if it does pass and when it does pass, that would be supported, that the law would be supported against a constitutional challenge after the AG did clear it to go to the ballot, rather than what it's seeming that, you know, the AG would potentially, you know, isn't sure about that. So I would say, I think on this group or in this call, I would ask folks to please let your voices be heard on that issue, because certainly after doing all of this work, having been cleared to go to the ballot, getting it on the ballot, when we pass it into law, I am fully going to be requesting that our Attorney General support the law against that constitutional challenge, rather than support what's likely to be legislative leaders if there is a constitutional challenge, rather than supporting their potential desire to you know, overturn this or block this from happening. But we are pushing forward full steam ahead. No progress is made unless we fight for the progress that we're making on issues like this. You know, I love the name of the group, right? It's our revolution. And, you know, think about those words. It's, you know, revolutionary sometimes, that you know, when you have to consider the changes that are needed to have those types of revolutions, it's challenging at times. So we do expect pushback, is the short answer on that. But we're pushing forward regardless, and we're going to keep going. And if there is pushback, then we're going to keep going then, and we're going to jump over every hurdle and every roadblock that they put in our way. I'm here for the long haul. I'm not going anywhere. I have a 4-year term. So I'll be here before the ballot initiative, after the ballot initiative, and I'll be there to fight every step of the way alongside of you to make sure that this law is upheld.
Sam Lambert.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And I followed your work on NDAs. And I know they are impacting municipalities as well. You mentioned municipalities. Is that something that has to be requested through the executive office or the legislative office of a municipality?
Great question. The local officials have to vote on it. So if it's a council, if it's a select board, they have to vote on that, and that needs to be sent over to us. And generally speaking, we try to do our best if a select board or a city council sends us something that they'd like us to audit. There is due to law a cost on that. Generally speaking, I believe it's a lot less than having an independent auditing firm come in, or I should say a privately funded auditing firm come in. But we are usually willing to work alongside of municipalities if they request our assistance. But it is rare that they do request our assistance, I will say. So, where we're here, generally speaking, if folks do put in that request, on the rare occasion that occurs.
So, Diana, I want to thank you again for your leadership on this issue. It's so important, and we're so excited to have you leading this effort. And I want you to know that we're going to invite you back, but next time your only responsibility will be to lead us in song. And
that's a little bit easier. I've been doing that since I was a kid. The auditing only started recently, so. Well, I appreciate it so much, Henry, and thank you so much for your advocacy and your leadership in assisting with the ballot question as well. I mean, you were really tremendous, and your whole team. And we have some work to do, but I'm so grateful that you're in this for the long haul alongside of us. And please, invite me back anytime. It's great to be here. Have a great rest of the day in your meetings. And I see Erin's on the call too. Erin, thanks for being one of our top 10 signatories on the ballot question, leading the charge with Act on Mass. And we'll see you all soon. Call anytime. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. So anyone who wants to follow up may follow up. Thanks.
And we'll see you at the victory line, Diane.